An absolute disgrace. UK Prime Minister Liz Truss is under fire from her own party. This is after just about a month and a half of being elected by the Conservatives. The UK's burgeoning political crisis took several unexpected turns on Wednesday, as Home Secretary Suella Braverman resigned and several senior Conservatives called on Prime Minister Liz Truss to step down after 6 disastrous weeks in office. I do have a picture of Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, waving bye-bye. This whole affair is inexcusable. It is a pitiful reflection on the Conservative Parliamentary Party on every level, and it reflects very badly, obviously, on the government of the day. This is according to senior Conservative MP Charles Walker. Do we actually have those comments? Yes, we do. I want to hear what he has to say. Oh, I actually had this clip already ready to play. After this segment.
Perfectly honest, this whole affair is inexcusable. It is a pitiful reflection on the Conservative Parliamentary Party at every level. And it reflects really badly, obviously, on the government of the day.
Do you think there's any coming back from this? I
don't think so. But I haven't. I have to say I've been of that view really since two weeks ago. This is.
So once again, I do U.S. politics, but as I understand it, only 2 things can happen from here. Liz Truss can call an election, and apparently she needs Parliament to sign off on that. Or the Conservatives can hold an election for a new leader. They can oust Liz Truss through a vote of no confidence. I'm wrong? Liz Truss alone has the ability to call it? Or was I wrong completely? Or is Parliament has the ability to call it? Liz has to ask the king to I didn't even know the king played a role in any of this. So apparently Liz has to ask the king to pay. Oh, I was asking Warlord earlier to try to clarify this for me, of whether the Conservative Party was likely to remain deadlocked over the next 2 years or force an election. And Warlord said to me that he apparently believes they will remain deadlocked. Labor is polling well now, but Labor was also polling well before the last election, and they did a really good hatchet job. Do go watch the Al Jazeera reporting. I can't remember what it's called. Warlord, can you look that up for me if you're still here? There is an Al Jazeera piece about what they did to Jeremy Corbyn and the Labor Party inside the Labor Party. Fantastic documentary about it. DM, just shut up. We learn a lot on this show. The Labor Files, that's exactly it. Thank you, Warlord. We learn a lot on this show. Open your ears and learn. Stop trying to tell us things. And it's not me imparting wisdom on you. It's us learning things together, is the way I like to look at this show. I'm not that bright. DM, we're talking about British Parliament. Has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Shut up and learn. So I would think that if the Conservatives were wanting to continue to govern and govern successfully, they would have kept Boris Johnson in power. That replacing Liz Truss was basically electing a fall guy.
Absolute disgrace as a Tory MP.
Let's go back to the beginning of this.
This whole affair is inexcusable. It is a pitiful reflection on the Conservative Parliamentary Party at every level. And it reflects really badly, obviously, on the government of the day.
Do you think there's any coming back from this?
I don't think so. But I haven't. I have to say I've been of that view really since two weeks ago. This is an absolute disgrace. As a Tory MP of 17 years, who's never been a minister, who's got on with it loyally most of the time, I think it's a
Look, I just can't imagine. Like, I can't imagine that she's the issue. I can't imagine that a month and a half and like, oh, she's just so terrible, she has to be ousted. This has to be just a fall guy for just the complete and utter failure of the Conservatives.
Shambles and a disgrace. I think it is utterly appalling.
So you seem quietly
I'm livid. And, you know, I really shouldn't say this, but I hope all those people that put Liz Truss in number 10, I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth it for the ministerial red box. I hope it was worth it to sit round the cabinet table, because the damage they have done to our party is extraordinary.
I'm sorry, it's very difficult to convey. You look just furious about this.
I am. I've had enough. I've had enough of talentless people putting their tick in the right box. Not
it's your party.
National interest, but because it's in their own personal interest to achieve ministerial position. And I know I speak for hundreds of backbenchers who right now are worrying for their constituents all the time, but now worrying about their own personal circumstances, because there is nothing as an ex-MP. And a lot of my colleagues are wondering, as many of their constituents are wondering, how they're going to pay their mortgages if this all comes to an end soon.
If this all comes to an end soon. But senior Conservative MP Charles Walker. Walker's comments came after Truss's chief whips had told Conservative MPs that they could be effectively expelled from the party if they refused to vote with the government over fracking, which Truss wants to legalize, but many Conservative MPs oppose. Now, we have a piece about this wild fracking vote that happened today. I think we got video of what went on. MPs allege bullying during this chaotic fracking vote.
People were shouting very aggressively. They were pointing at them. They were very closely surrounded, and there were ministers and government whips all around them, and to all intents and purposes, one of them, to my mind anyway, this is what it looked like to me, was basically pushed or pulled through into the division lobby.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
I have never seen that. I mean, look, I'm not naive. I've been here for 21 years. I know that the whips sometimes can be quite assertive, but it's normally the force of reason, not the force of force. And to be honest, that looked like bullying to me. It's bullying like I've not seen since I was at school.
In the Houses of Parliament?
In the Houses of Parliament, we have a behaviour code which says that we do not countenance bullying or harassment. Members of Parliament are meant to be able to vote without fear or favour, and that wasn't what we had today. I mean, all of this is happening because emotions are very, very heightened because the government is in freefall. And frankly...
Well, so this is Conservative MP Chris Bryant describing the scene on the floor. I want the fucking video. Ah, damn it. I was so close. I want the video of what happened on the parliamentary floor. Can you find that for me? Warlord. I want video of Parliament. That's what I wanted to get to. No one knows if the chief whip has resigned yet. The government seemed to back off the threat by the time Wednesday's vote was called, but the Conservative whips tasked with enforcing party discipline still applied intense pressure to corral MPs into the voting chamber. 40 Conservative MPs ultimately abstained. In a chaotic scene inside Parliament, Chief Whip Wendy Morton reportedly declared she was quitting. Do we have video of this? Ah, Bloomberg. How dare you? Apparently, we've got comments from Truss on this whole situation.
The only mandate she's ever had is from members opposite. It was a mandate built on fantasy economics, and it ended in disaster. The country's got nothing to show for it except the destruction of the economy and the implosion of the Tory party. I've got the list here. 45p tax cut, gone. Corporation tax cut, gone. 20p tax cut, gone. 2-year energy freeze, gone. Tax-free shopping, gone. Economic credibility, gone. And her supposed best friend, the former Chancellor, he's gone as well. They're all gone. So why is she still here?
Mr. Speaker, I am a fighter and not a quitter.
So apparently, the actual parliamentary proceedings are not recorded. So what we see is from Prime Minister's questions. As of Wednesday evening, Morton and her deputy were still in their jobs, according to the BBC. Braverman did resign officially for violating security protocols by sending a sensitive email from a personal account with a blistering letter implying that Truss herself should be the next to go. I mean, it really seems like Liz Truss is not going to outlast the lettuce, but who would want to step into that job? At this point, you're basically setting yourself up to have exactly this happen to you in what, a couple more months? She didn't do anything. She just took over a party that is in complete and utter chaos and freefall. Brexit has been a disaster. The UK, if you think Joe Biden has handled inflation horribly, then boy, do I have some news for you about what's going on in the UK. When it comes to inflation and the issues with supply chains, the US has actually fared pretty middle of the pack. That's why I laugh at right-wingers who want to talk about Joe Biden causing the country to fall apart. What is the inflation rate in the UK right now? It's like 16-17%. She did implement the tax. I thought she came to power, she was going to implement a tax cut, and it was incredibly unpopular, and she backed off of it. That was the last reporting we did on the issue, but did they actually pass that? Warlord, can you verify that for me? They wanted to come in and just do austerity. And for once it backfired, it appears. But what you have here is a head of lettuce that the Daily Star has put up. You can see it's nighttime for the lettuce. It's gone nighty-night. I mean, at this point in time, wouldn't it be best for the UK to be like, hey, EU, we apologize. Can we kind of come back in? But I'm not blaming Brexit. I'm not blaming Brexit for all of the UK's problems either. That can't possibly be true. Situations are far more complicated than people like to make them out to be. What's not complicated is she's not going to outlast this lettuce. Possibly. I had questions about the lettuce. What is the temperature in the room that the lettuce is currently kept in? Is the temperature a crisp 60 degrees? If so, I think the lettuce will last longer than Liz Truss. If the room is 72 degrees, then I don't think the lettuce will outlast Liz Truss, because I don't think she's going this week. I probably won't last another month, though. Humidity is also a factor. So I need questions answered before we can actually make a informed decision on what's going to happen with this lettuce. I don't like making assumptions or having beliefs. MD, this is what I'm talking about, my friend. You got to think about these things. You got to think about it from all angles. You got to put yourself on the other side of situations. You got to understand things.